Welcome to JIBRIN Angle on Oweleketv. My name is JIBRIN, and this is my angle. Once again, we have Barrister Austin Manta, a very senior legal practitioner, who will be dissecting some legal issues surrounding Afe Babalola and Dele Farotimi uh, case, the Farotimi's case that is all over the news right now. Barrister, thank you once again for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Yes, like I said earlier, Barrister Austin Manta is a very, very senior legal practitioner of over 40 years. So we cannot have a better person actually to dissect, to actually give us the interpretation of what is actually going on, the legal battle going on in the polity right now, as with regard to Dele Farotimi and Afe Babalola. Both of them, okay, no, Afe Babalola is a son. Even though I don't so much, honestly, I don't attach importance to that essay. And I think Nigeria is the only one because we don't have we don't have such a title in the US. I don't know where Nigeria, okay, Nigeria copied it from the UK, right?
Yes, the UK has what we call the Queen's Council or the King's Council.
What does this?
So they had to copy, they wanted to
Yeah, that's
copy
the
something
problem because anyway, that's it.
similar to
I
that.
don't want us to drag it because I have reason why I don't. We'll talk about it. It's going to be a different topic on a different segment actually because this issue of sound is just crazy. We'll talk about it anyway. All right, Barrister. Uh, this Dele Farotimi and Afe Babalola's case have taken multiple dimensions. I think there are other lawyers. I think lawyers who worked under Afe Babalola that I think they are also suing Dele Farotimi or so. If I am correct, if I'm wrong, please correct me. And that is, I think, some just the dynamics are up there. I have several questions to ask you, specific questions, but um can you give us a rundown, very short rundown of what is actually happening between Afe Babalola and what's his name, Dele Farotimi, and other lawyers with regard to other cases in the court?
Please, thank you very much. Um, just like you said, the matter between Afe Babalola and Dele Farotimi has assumed other dimensions as well. What started from a criminal complaint to the police by Afe Babalola in respect of defamation of his character in the book Nigeria and its Criminal Justice System by Dele Farotimi has snowballed into several levels of litigation, civil and criminal. The book itself, the defamation or what was alleged to be defamatory, was not just in respect of Afe Babalola as a person, it also accused his chambers, the lawyers in his chambers, of corrupting the judiciary. So we are now seeing an escalation of the issues because some of the lawyers in those in the chambers have also taken out personal libel suit against Dele Farotimi for libeling them, quite apart from the suit that Afe Babalola filed. And on top of that, the other dimension is that Afe Babalola has petitioned the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee to discipline Dele Farotimi for bringing the profession into disrepute. So he is now facing multiple lawsuits, both criminal and civil. The criminal ones you are aware is both in the magistrate court and in the federal high court. Now the civil ones between lawyers in Afe Babalola's chambers which are civil cases for defamation, claiming, I think one of them is claiming about 600 million naira from him and others. Now, the case before the legal practitioners disciplinary committee, which, if successful, may lead to his being debarred from practicing law and his name struck off from the list of legal practitioners in Nigeria, either permanently or for a number of years, depending on the decision of the disciplinary committee. So that is the dimension that the cases have taken. Now, in addition to that, we must not fail to mention the intervention by well-meaning citizens,
Nigerians.
Peter Obi inclusive, and I understand that Olusegun Obasanjo himself, um, who have intervened in the matter. So you now see a lot of people coming out for and against. Some people lining up behind Afe Babalola, others lining up behind Dele Farotimi. And then still some people claiming to be independent commentators on the issue. So that is the dimension that the case have turned into.
All right, thank you so much. All right, the next question is initially, okay, I think that's the latest now, but initially, Afe Babalola went with the first option, which is criminal defamation. Is it a criminal charge against him for defaming him? The latest is okay. He has decided to go just all blazing. He has filed for libel as well, and again filed against him, petitioned um, the legal body, the law body rather, or bar, the bar association. Is it bar association, right? Yes, bar association, Nigeria Bar Association.
We call it the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee.
Okay, good. So he has probably gone. In fact, I don't know. The man is really out for Dele Farotimi. Now, can you give me reason why he decided to go with it first? Because that was the first one we had, the criminal charge. That is one. Why do you think he preferred to take that first as against everybody normal all these years I've always had of when it comes to defamation, what comes to mind is the libel, the damages. People who are want actually focus, most people focus on the damages. So why the criminal charge?
Well, like I
And
mentioned the other
add
time,
this to this, I was told I don't know if I heard correctly that SAN are not supposed to um attend a magistrate court. Is that true? Please, can you continue?
yes, like I mentioned the last time we discussed this topic, as between a criminal case and claim for damages for libel, both options are available to a person who thinks he has been libeled in the manner in which Afe Babalola believes he was libeled. Now, for him, I'm just trying to put myself in his position. If he goes with the civil libel, it will not do anything to him because in that civil libel, the best he's claiming is the major thing he's claiming is the monetary damages. Now, that will not make any sense to him because he's super rich, he's extremely rich. Any damages awarded against Dele Farotimi in his favor will mean nothing to him. But in that civil libel, he can also get the court to ban or to confiscate the proceeds of the of the sales of the book, to ban further publications, and to confiscate the books that have already been published. He has already got orders for that
Yeah, I was
in the
going to ask
civil
you
court.
that. Yes.
Yes, he has already obtained orders from court for the proceeds to be seized, for the books that have been published to be seized wherever they are found, and and other these are normal orders or reliefs that can be sought in a libel suit to prevent the libel from continuously being disseminated. So is in order to get an order like that, pending the hearing of the case itself. But I think what drove the criminal case is, okay, let me really punish the person in the sense that he can be committed to prison, he will lose his freedom and what goes with it. So I think he believed that that would how do I put it? That would satisfy him more than just simply asking for damages. And by and large, he has achieved that part of it because Dele Farotimi is presently still in prison for quite a number of days for something that he ought to have been granted bail. And this is one of my complaints against the court. This was a bailable offense. Dele Farotimi is a well-known legal practitioner. In any other instance, he would have been granted bail in self-cognizance. You didn't even need to ask him to bring a surety.
Yeah, but the bail
He
has
has,
been granted to him with, in fact, but very ridiculous condition. I think the condition, the bail
and,
condition is about 50 million naira and some other
and
stuff.
I'm talking of the first day he was presented before the
Okay.
magistrate court. In any other instance, if it was not somebody like Afe Babalola that was involved and the publicity and the national discourse that the matter had turned, he ought to have been granted bail at that point, even on self-cognizance. Because one, the matter is bailable. And two, the man is well known. He has a chambers in Ekiti, he has a chambers in Lagos, he has his family here. So why is the flight? Why is the threat? Because the issue of bail is simply to secure your attendance to court. It's not for punishment. At that point, you are presumed innocent. So the bail issue is to ensure that you come to court whenever the matter is coming up. So when the person is not a flight risk, and when there's no danger of tampering with investigation, you grant the person bail. So the curiosity came when the magistrate, who is a summary judge, where oral applications are made daily, we make oral applications before the magistrate. Now tell them to go and put it in writing. It didn't make sense to me. But of course, I understand that this was in Ekiti, where Afe Babalola is almost like a lord and king. So you can read between the lines that apparently even the magistrate is afraid of
his job.
just releasing the man for some repercussions or maybe a prearranged, the matter was prearranged for him to go to prison. So either of those possibilities is real. So you see it from his angle. Let me punish this boy. Let him lose his freedom, go to prison. But the other part of it is whether the man feels that he's being punished, because all through this he's relaxed. I don't think he anticipated that he could be put in prison. It's not as if he's afraid of that. And being from the obedient movement, he already has that baggage that he was even fearing already on that angle, not from this that libel, fearing the constant
Tinubu stuff, yeah.
criticism of the government like we do here. You must anticipate something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think he was afraid of, or he's afraid of being detained. He came to court relaxed. He didn't look ruffled. So if that is the case, then the purpose has been defeated. Because if you feel that by putting me in prison, you are suffering me, and I don't feel that I've really suffered, and I'm ready to tolerate it, then you have not achieved your purpose.
All right. Now
So
that leads us to the bail. What do you think about the bail? Where is he? Is still has he fulfilled the bail condition? Is he still
as of
under
today,
incarceration?
he's still under incarceration. I don't think they have met the bail conditions yet because they are very onerous. They are very onerous, but I believe they must have been working towards that. Because when you give uh, a very strenuous bail condition like that, getting people to come and stand for you becomes risky. And then you compare the person he's fighting with. A lot of people who would have come forward to shorty
Yeah.
him so that he can be released would also have to reckon with the powers that be that are fighting him. And a lot of people will chicken out. That I don't want to get myself into trouble with so and so person. So it's not that simple, but I believe that they will get,
Now,
probably before the 20th December, they will get him out.
my point is this. Because you have said this, I think in the first episode we about on this topic, you elaborated on the issue, the legal issue, between Afe Babalola and himself and Dele Farotimi. My point is this, because the truth is, the case we're talking about between the both family, the land case, from the High Court up to the Supreme Court. This guy was not party. There was not a party to any part. What's his name? Dele Farotimi.
Dele
He
Farotimi.
wasn't defending, or he wasn't a counsel to any. Did not participate. His name did not feature in any from the beginning to the end. His name only featured. He became a counsel to one of the people who bought the land. One of the buyers of the land. So numerous people who bought the land.
By the time the case went to court, a lot of people had bought and built estates
Correct.
in the land. So he was a counsel to one of the estates
Correct.
among many estates.
Yeah, yes. So my point is, at what point, because he is the only, probably is the only one who accused Supreme Court. How can you accuse an institution of corruption? Now, um, everybody, you and I, you have been singing, you've been blowing this trumpet over the years, that how about the enormity of judicial corruption. There's no doubt about that. We've talked about it from the lowest court to the highest court in the land. It reeks of corruption. It stinks of corruption. There's no doubt about that. Now, for the purpose of being fair, for the purpose of being, at least being formal, at least judging things, weighing, just putting things in the balance. For God's sake, why would a lawyer, a professional, just go blazing over a matter that he was not actually party to? From the beginning, from the foundation of the case up to Supreme Court, he was not. So how come? How did he arrive? How do you think? How do you think he arrived at the point where he could actually accuse the Supreme Court of corruption? And apart from that, we're made to understand that he is the only one among the only counsel to, that's among other buyers, other estate owners, that he is the only one that actually had a kind of gross against Afe Babalola and the settlement, because we're told that, I think what we had is that there was a settlement and both parties agreed, and the estate people, I think they agreed to settle the estate or whatever. But the point is, how come, apart from him, he was first, he was the only person that actually that a kind of spoke foul of the Supreme Court judgment. Secondly, what could be the reason? But I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. He was not party to it. So what could be the yardstick for him to actually accuse the Supreme Court of corruption that he was not even involved in the case in the first place?
Yes, like I said, it seems to me, it appears to me that it's a carryover of previous grudges that he has with Afe Babalola, and I think he mentioned the libel suit that he filed against him before. So my thinking is that he has been having this grudge against Afe Babalola over some time, and in writing the book, he now came forward to the grudge now came to the fore.
Why
But
why
I
do you think he waited for this long? Okay, sorry to cut you short because we have to start cutting it. Otherwise, this whole thing will go long. Now,
yes.
then, in that case, why do you think he waited this long? 11 years is quite a long time. Why
Well, you see
wait?
that a lawyer writing a book is not going to be. He's not a writer by profession where he can dedicate all his time to writing. Like me, I'm practicing law. He is practicing law. To get the time to sit down and be writing a book like a normal writer is not easy. It's something. It's not as if he made that his priority. It's something you do over time. When you get time from your practice, you sit down and jot down this thing. Over time, it's not as if he made the writing of the book his prime priority, where he can abandon other things and concentrate on the book. It's over time, as we are practicing his writing, putting something aside for the book over years. Eventually, you conclude the book. I think that is the way the matter flowed for 11 years before
Now,
the book was actually launched.
okay. I don't understand. We've talked about this, but I'm bringing it up again because it doesn't make sense to me. If you were not privy to a case at the Supreme Court, from the lowest court to the from high court to the highest court, um, what gave him that impetus, that confidence, actually, to spill what is spilled, and obviously, of course, he knows quite all right that something like this will happen. Where do you expect him to get if he was not part of the case from onset? What do you where do you think he could have gotten evidence from? Because I just ask myself as a lawyer, if he was this bold to actually um uh, dare Afe Babalola, who I consider to be a legal juggernaut. And apart from that, we all know that we call him an institution. Now, not respectfully, I respect his age. I respect him because he's old enough to be my father. A sort of so, but when it comes to the polity, I do not respect him because we know Baba he's rich, but we know how he became rich. A sort of so I consider him as a corrupt person personally. That is me. So, but that's not what we are. I am here. What I'm trying to do about this case is not siding with anybody. If I want to side with anybody, I'm even siding with Dele. Dele is someone that I admire so much. I admire his courage, admire his tenacity and his boldness. It's sort of so I love him so much. So, but I'm just trying to balance the whole thing. Where do you think? I don't understand. What as a lawyer, where do you he is a lawyer, you are a lawyer. Can you just give us a kind of just a theory of what could be the reason behind his spilling what he spilled for at least probably he has something of his sleeves. Don't you think so? Do you think he has evidence somewhere hiding? And how could he have gotten evidence if he was not party to the case from the beginning to the end?
As any evidence, I will repeat, I doubt, because these are not things that are easy to obtain in terms of specifics. But if you have been following the Farotimi, you will know that he's like that. Even in his other criticism, He is a civil rights activist. These people go beyond the specific. They make general accusations. They even come to the specific ones. And it does not matter whether they have hard evidence or not. They can still peddle it. You can look at other activists, it is the same pattern. And if you have followed the way he has been criticizing government, you can notice that it's not everything that he says that he has personal knowledge of it, or particular information or particular evidence to support what he says. It comes with the territory. When you are a social critic, even when you hear, when you read, when you watch on you catch on it and also propagate it. So it's in that way I can put it that he has come to put this thing in a book. If he has not, he granted interviews and made those statements. If it was that alone, the whole issue would have been mitigated. But putting it in book form that will outlive him, outlive Afe Babalola and all of us, is where I believe he went overboard. Because when you go to the extent of putting something in a book form, rather than just speaking as I'm speaking now, that may not last for like book form, will not be readily available to the public like a book, then when you refer to somebody in that derogatory manner, I believe you should be held to a standard that it will be right for the person to call you to come forward and prove what you have
And I was
said.
told that the one of the justices that actually sat over this case is Justice Akas. I think
Yes,
I was also informed that Justice Akas wasn't a corrupt justice. I don't know. What's
I
your take
have
on that?
personal. I met Akas when I came to practice in Kaduna. That was the year that he was made the High Court judge. And it was from Kaduna Bar that he eventually went to Court of Appeal and eventually went to Supreme Court. And I have personal knowledge of a case involving Enugu gubernatorial election where he was on the panel of the Court of Appeal involving Andy Oba, where the NJC ended up dismissing, there were three justices on that panel. The NJC ended up dismissing two of the justices for confirmed acts of corruption in receiving bribes. I think bribes of about 400 million each. And in that instance, it was only Akas that refused to collect bribe. And that singular issue helped to catapult him to Supreme Court. So is somebody I know personally, is somebody we have been together in the profession from Kaduna to he went to court. I have appeared before the Supreme Court where he was on the panel of the Supreme Court in at least two cases on which he was on the panel at the Supreme Court. I've appeared in the Court of Appeal where he was on the panel. So why I cannot vouch for him, on the surface and with my knowledge, he is a person of integrity. He is one of the people or one of the judges who have integrity to my knowledge. And this very case, I mentioned to you that if it is only this case, except in the unlikely event or unlikely basis that Dele has some other issues. If it is based on this case, and if you look at the book, he is basing his allegations particularly on that case. And I try as I can. I'm unable to fault the Supreme Court decision to vary their judgment. Because we have principle that when a court delivers judgment, it becomes functus official. In other words, it has ceased to have anything to do with that case. It cannot reopen that case and give a different judgment. But there is an exception in respect of clerical errors. If there are typographical and clerical errors in the judgment, you can come back to the court to correct those clerical, not to change the judgment, but to correct clerical errors. In this case, the issue was Justice Akar stated 10 hectares instead of 254 hectares. And that was the reason Afe Babalola approached the court to correct that typographical or clerical error. Because right from the High Court to Court of Appeal to Supreme Court, the issue was the cell.
Could that be the reason why Dele is? Could that be where Dele got his idea of corruption from?
Yes, that is in his book. That's the basis. He said that Afe Babalola manipulated the Supreme Court in changing their judgments.
Oh, okay. So the correction from 10 hectares to
10 hectares
250 or whatever, that is okay. That is the
is where
manipulation.
one of his clients, where one of the estate was now affected. Because if it was limited to the 10 hectares, they will not be affected. But right from the High Court to the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court, the issue was the sale of 254 hectares of land. I think I mentioned to you that time.
Yes.
Why this thing came about. The family sold 254 hectares to another family. And eventually, it was not the whole land, part of their land. Eventually, Lagos State government compulsorily acquired the whole land, including the 254 hectares. So the family now went to court to challenge the forceful accusation, and they won. So the next thing they said is, having won, they are saying that the 254 hectares they sold has reverted back to them. That was the issue. And even though the High Court and Court of Appeal agree with them, the Supreme Court said, no, you have sold 254 hectares. You have nothing, again, to hold on to. You cannot claim ownership of those 254 hectares that you sold. And there's a Latin maxim, nemo quod non habet. You have sold, you no longer have anything, ownership of it. And as far as I know, the Supreme Court was quite in order to make that holding. You sell land to me, I paid you. Now there's dispute, they confiscated the land you sold to me together with your remaining land. And you won, and you now say the one you sold to me has also gone back to you. How is that? How is that justice? How is that equitable? So this is the issue. It was in the process of executing that judgment after the correction. After Babalola came in by appealing to the bringing motion to the Supreme Court to correct that and revert and properly state that it is 254 hectares that belong to the family that bought. And out of that, a lot of estates had already come in. Meanwhile, they were settling the matter. Many of the estates were settling the matter with the parties involved. So I don't know at what point that Dele Farotimi became enraged or became against that issue, or in what sense the Supreme Court was compromised to correct the error of 10 hectares to 254 hectares. And that is what led me to say that it is a carryover of previous grudges he has against Afe Babalola.
All right. Now, we all know that because the whole thing is just it's a web of a kind of development. And as a result of that, it's like things are just getting more muddier just by the day. As a result of, I think we have dignitaries. You mentioned Obasanjo. People are intervening, including someone I respect so much, President Olusegun Obasanjo, who I consider to be Afe Babalola's godfather as well, because even though Afe Babalola has made it long before Obasanjo became his godfather.
They are contemporaries.
They are okay, contemporaries. Okay, but yeah, they are contemporaries. But the reality is, Afe Babalola worked for Obasanjo was his client. Nigerian government was his
Yes,
client. So
definitely.
he was his boss. So whether they were contemporaries or not, by age or by whatever, in reality, Obasanjo was his boss. So Obasanjo, I consider him as
But
his godfather. Um,
not only that, Obasanjo enabled him financially
Fuck, absolutely. So that is just it. So
in his legal practice.
cor- uh,
It was during Obasanjo's reign that he really
absolutely. Yeah, that is when
made it.
that's where when I got to know Afe Babalola's name now during Obasanjo's time. So because he did so many things during Obasanjo time. Obasanjo is obviously is I think if there's anyone that man can listen to right now, the highest person I think he can listen to is Obasanjo because they had good relationship sort of. So now they are intervening. I think when Peter Obi went there, we had that he gave a condition for settlement. And the condition, one of the conditions, the one that I can remember, is that Dele should apologize, and that is just it. And Dele too gave his own condition for settlement, and his own condition first. This Dele said Obi who sent Obi message. He didn't, which obviously I knew quite well when I heard that Obi went there. I knew quite well Obi went there on his own in his own personal capacity. I knew quite well that Dele wouldn't. Dele is a stubborn man, and I like his stubbornness actually. He wouldn't send Peter Obi to do that. Now, but even at that, of course, people must have been speaking to Dele as well regarding this matter to calm down. So probably he decided to cave in and gave his own condition that they should that Afe Babalola should withdraw the case as a precondition for settlement. So, what do you think about that? Because according to what we read, if the case is withdrawn, Dele is ready to apologize. I don't know. Will that be shooting his himself in the foot? Do you think so, legally or whatever, or morally? Because we have two judges, two courts now. We have the true one court, which is the real formal court, and we have the court of public opinion, sort of. So I think Barrister has frozen. Can you hear me, Barrister? All right. Okay, Barrister, you're back. Sorry. I think we had a network issue or whatever. So viewers, we're sorry about that glitch. And so now that the settlement, Dele has given his condition, Afe Babalola has given his condition. What do you think? Do you think Dele if he concedes or probably if he the way they withdraw the case and he apologizes, what do you see of what do you think of his image? What do you think his image will look like if he apologizes for what he did?
From what I heard, even though Peter Obi himself has not said the condition that Afe Babalola gave, from the grapevine, from published online, it was not just an apology that Afe Babalola was looking for. Afe Babalola wanted Dele to plead guilty, to
Yeah, okay.
withdraw his
Yes.
no guilty plea
Yeah, okay.
and plead guilty to the charges and then apologize. That was the issue. So you see, that one is virtually
Yeah,
impossible
impossible. Of course.
for Dele to succumb to. Having come this far, uh, rightly or wrongly, it's going to be near impossible for him to say, okay, I will plead guilty. Because when you look at it, he doesn't have much to lose, really. He does not have much to lose because eventually he will be released from prison. That is the truth. He
Yeah.
will be even on bail. Then he can join forces. The cases will go on, both the criminal and the civil cases can go on simultaneously. Now, what happens thereafter is a different ball game altogether. It can drag for some time. We are not saying this man is, Afe Babalola himself is very old. You cannot say he will live forever. The case can drag for a couple of years from High Court, from Magistrate Court to High Court to Court of Appeal to Supreme Court, and it's going to take a long time. So, from the point of view of Dele, he doesn't have much to lose. Remember, he is not a very, I wouldn't say, he's not a wealthy person. He's not somebody who has accumulated a lot of money or earthly or worldly possessions that he will be afraid that everything will be taken away and he will be left with nothing. He is somebody that is a bit contented,
Modest, yeah.
and he has put himself into this fight. He knows what it means. He knows what it entails. So compared to Afe Babalola, he doesn't have much to lose. Now, on the other hand, even Afe Babalola wins, a lot of people will feel that he has used his money and he has used his power. So you see the dynamics. Whichever way, he will lose because it's a David and Goliath story.
Yes.
And anytime there's a David and Goliath story, you know where the public opinion will, whom they will side with. So Dele does not have much to lose, but Afe Babalola has a lot to lose.
So, in that case, do you think Dele have a reason to fight on? Because it's obvious that they will fight on because the condition of Afe Babalola is putting up, I wouldn't go by that condition. I wouldn't accept if I were in Dele's shoes. I won't accept that condition. So, do you think Dele has a reason to fight on, or you should just go and find a way
It
to
is,
plead, beg? Because
these things.
I made a monologue of this, and I asked my own suggestion and advice to Dele was, look, you don't have a case here. Just go beg this man and let's see. I don't like the man for the this is on record. I don't like the man. I don't like Afe Babalola. Usually, I don't like anybody that is part of establishment is not. I will never ever be on that person's side. I don't like the man. I don't even like his wealth, source of wealth and other stuff. Part of the corruption, Obasanjo, even though I consider him the best so far, since the current democratic dispensation is the best so far. But under his government, so there were corruption, and for Babalola, I feel Babalola was part of that little corruption under Obasanjo. So I am not on his side here. I'm only trying to actually be fair and just play a kind of devil's advocate because I've said it earlier. This Dele Farotimi just he might drive rough. That's just the truth. He went overboard. That's just the reality because I do not see him. I do not. If you didn't participate in a case, ab initio, I don't know where will you be able to get such evidence from. I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel for Ele if this case continues. So my question is this, as a lawyer barrister, um, yeah, you have said it all. Actually, Dele does not have anything to lose. Afe Babalola have a lot to lose, including his image. So, what do you think? What would be your advice to someone like Dele?
Well, there are some people that are very difficult to advise. When you have set your mind, particularly this so-called civil rights activists, when you have set your mind on a course of action, some of them go so far that they cannot come back. I keep insisting on that. One of them that is in that position is Sowore. You see the way he talks to you there's a parallel between the way he talks and the way Dele Farotimi talk. Most of the time they talk, even though we know those things are true, in reality, if you are asked to produce evidence, you will not be able to. I sit here and I criticize the judiciary. I know there's corruption, but if it comes to legal evidence, it's going to be difficult for me. to
Yeah.
to produce that evidential basis that will meet the requirements of the court. But it does not stop me from repeatedly asserting the corruption in the judiciary. You see the way Sowore talks on virtually everything. If you call him to account, he'll be found wanting in the specific and in the evidence. The same thing you see daily. So these people have gone so far that you cannot ask them to retrace their step or to moderate their criticism, because that is the level they are operating. Moderating their criticism is almost like telling them to stop criticizing,
Do you think,
because
okay, now, do you think Tinubu has a kind of has bought into this? Do you see him behind the scene, people representing him behind Afe Babalola, pushing this case further?
it's possible. The Dele Farotimi has been a very strong critic of the
That's why
government.
I asked you that
And
question.
whenever and if they ever have an opportunity to deal with him, it will be very sweet for them. And in this instance, they have this opportunity at the instance of Afe Babalola, and they have rightly stepped in. Remember the complaint of Afe Babalola to the police on defamation has been escalated by the government to cyber crimes and the charges in the Federal High Court. Those are not, that was not Afe Babalola's focus. Afe Babalola's focus was on the criminal
Yeah.
defamation. Now you now see it about 12 charges relating to cybercrime and cyberbullying and cyber stalking. These are government initiated and sponsored charges. So you can see that the government has gleefully and happily taken the opportunity to find a way to silence or deal with Dele Farotimi.
Well, so I don't know. Anyway, you technically answered the question. It obviously means that even no matter the advice given to Dele will not, but even though I do not see him winning this case, just like you noted earlier, even if Afe Babalola wins, the people will consider him to be a loser. That's just the truth, or the person who lost, because like you noted, it's just this fight is between David and Goloya, and um, people will always take the side of David. Now, me, I am not taking side of my own problem is I just believe that I- this guy, I think what I thought, this man allowed his civil activism to get over his head and probably override that lawyer toga in him, a sort of. So, and otherwise, I've not seen a lawyer who speaks so recklessly. We, like you noted, me personally, I speak recklessly because I am not a lawyer. I speak from the emotional angle. So as such, I just say things, they may be correct, just like you noted, they may be correct, but if you ask me to bring evidence, I don't get evidence. That is just the reality. But anyway, Dele Faro to me is a human being. I can understand his emotions sometimes. But well, I don't know. I think in my own I've profiled I think I've given a suggestion advice to him on that. Um let him just go, let him go beg this man. I find a way to settle this matter. Otherwise, the matter will linger, just like you noted, linger in court for a very long time, probably spend time, money, and whatever, everything here there. And such case may even outlive um Babalola himself. The man is 95 years, for God's sake. It's how many people they reach 95 years these days? I sort of. I just see maybe I don't be God, sha, but at least between now 100 or whatever. I don't think that man. Anyway, only God knows. But this our generation. Their generation, I don't think we've had generations of 120, 140 or whatever. But their own generation, I think maybe I don't know. But God is the one that may I'll make the no say they wish I'm dead, but 95 years, if I live 95 years, if I live for 80, 85 years, I'm done with what thing that they live for. That is just it anyway.